Welcome to Geography class.
Here I am going to start the lesson Soil. I have divided the whole lesson into three parts. First I am going to discuss about the soils in India. At first you have to remember the formation of soils are controlled by different factors like relief features, landforms, climatic realms and the vegetation types. In ancient times, soils are divided into two parts, Urvara, that means fertile, and Usara, that means infertile or the unproductive. After that, soils are classified based on their inherent characteristics like texture, it can be sandy, clay, silty, or loamy, or based on their external features like color. It can be red, yellow, black, etc. And in modern time, ICAR, that means Indian Council of Agricultural Research, has given the proper classification of Indian soil. Now, Indian soils are divided into 8 types. But here, you have to remember one thing. ICSE grade 10 students will learn only first 4 types of soil. NCERT grade 10 students will learn the first 6 types of soil, and for all kinds of competitive exam as well as for NCERT 11, all soils are important. I am going to discuss all types of soil one by one. First I am going to discuss about the alluvial soil. Alluvial soil is composed of sand, silt and clay. So now we'll see the features of the alluvial soil. In this picture you can see the color of the alluvial soil varies from light grey to ash grey, and you have to remember in the undulating areas the soil profile is not mature for the alluvial soil, and alluvial soil is the maximum available soil in India, which covers about 15 lakh square kilometer, accounting for about 45.6% of the total landmass. Now we'll see the formation of the alluvial soil. So here in this picture you can clearly see they're formed by the transportation and deposition of the weathered materials by the rivers. So generally wherever there is a presence of big rivers, we can see the presence of alluvial soil. Now for an example, in this picture you can see the rivers, they're carrying the material from the Himalayas. After that, whenever they just come to the plain region, they deposit their materials on the both side of the rivers, and gradually there's a formation of the alluvial soil. And in other case you can see near the delta region there is also the deposition of the silt, but this alluvial soil is known as the deltatic alluvium. Now we are going to discuss about the types of alluvial soil. The first one is the khadar, which is the new alluvium, and the second one is the vangar, which is the old alluvium. In case of the khadar, they are more recent in nature as they are constantly replenished by the rivers. But in case of the vangar, you have to remember they are not directly replenished by the rivers, rather they are constantly replenished by the transported materials during floods. As the vangar is old in nature and they're constantly replenished by the transported materials during floods, so what will happen? The height of the vangar will increase as it happens each and every year. So you have to remember the height for the vangar is more and the height for the khadar is less. And through the background you can see the color for the khadar is light in nature and the color for the vangar is dark in nature, and you can see the khadar soil is less concrete and the vangar soil is more concrete. Conker means concretion and the nodules of impure calcium carbonate. So this picture symbolizes conker. Next one is Faber. Alluvium fan having coarse and pebbly structure. So you have to know what is alluvium fan. When the deposition of alluvial forms a shape like a fan, that is known as the alluvium fan. Now what happened here, when the river enters to the plain region from a mountain, suddenly the slope becomes gentle and the rivers are unable to carry their heavy materials. So they deposit their materials on the river bank or along the both sides of the river. So that is known as the Vabar. So in case of Vabar, water is less visible. And in the Terai region, river again rejuvenates. So you can see the presence of waterlogged land in the Terai region, and this waterlogged land is very useful for the growth of plants. So you can see the variety of wildlife in the Terai region. So if you go to the Terai region, you can see various kinds of wildlife sanctuary or the national park. So here I am going to simplify it. Here you can see the presence of mountainous regions, and in the foothills of the mountainous region there is a presence of Vabar, and Vabar is full of coarse materials like stone and pebble, and water is less visible in Vabar. After that, whenever the water rejuvenates, that region is known as the Terai region, and Terai region is basically the waterlogged swampy land. And after that there is a deposition of new alluvium which is known as the Khadar, and there is a deposition of old alluvium which is known as the Vangar. And in few portions of India, Vangar is also known as Bangar, Vangar. Alright. Here you can see this brown color region, that is the Shivalik region, and the foothills of Shivalik in Punjab is known as the Jaws, and this red color region is the Vabar region. After this green color region, that is the Terai region, but in the eastern portion of India there is a continuation of Duars regions. So what happens basically, in West Bengal the Tista river divides the Terai region into two parts, the northeastern portion which is known as the Duars region, and the northwestern portion which is known as the Terai region. And here you can see various kinds of national parks are also available in these regions. And the continuation of Duars region is still Assam. In Assam we can see Kaziranga National Park, in West Bengal we can see Jaldapara National Park, Garumara National Park, even in the Terai region we can see the presence of national park like Singalila National Park. Now we are going to discuss about the distribution of alluvial soil. So basically the northern plains are composed of alluvial soil. So here you have to remember these northern plains are composed of riverine alluvium, the riverine alluvium of Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra river, except that you can see the presence of alluvial soil in the eastern coastal plain. Eastern coastal plain are composed of deltatic alluvium. The deltatic alluvium of Mahanadi river, Godavari river, Krishna river and Kaveri river. Even you can see the presence of deltatic alluvium in the Narmada and Tapi delta region. So in a short we can say the state Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, few parts of Orissa, eastern coastal strip of peninsular India, Gujarat and Rajasthan are composed of alluvial soil. But in case of Gujarat, except Kathiawar plateau and few portion of Ran of Kutch, and in case of Rajasthan, obviously except the desert region, right? Here you have to remember one thing. We cannot see any big delta in the western coastal plain, so we cannot see the presence of deltatic alluvium in the western coastal plain. Because Arabian Sea is not the mouth of any big rivers, and small rivers only form estuary, not the delta. Now we are going to discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of the alluvial soil. Alluvial soil is highly fertile in nature and it is soft. Due to their softness, it is suitable for all kinds of irrigation. We already know that northwestern part of India doesn't get enough amount of rainfall. Still it is developed in agriculture. Why? Because of the presence of irrigation facility. But in case of the alluvial soil, the proportion of nitrogen is very low, but we can use the fertilizer. Now, the alluvial soil is very rich in the organic matter but poor in humus. Now we have to know the basic difference between the organic material and the humus. Organic material is anything that was alive and is now in or on the soil. Now, it must be decomposed into humus. So, humus is an organic material that has been converted by the microorganisms to a resistant state of decomposition. The amount of potash is adequate in alluvial soil. Potash is nothing but the potassium which is responsible for the crop formulation and quality. But in few portions of India, the amount of phosphorus is not adequate. So phosphorus is also a macro element for plant nutrition. Doesn't matter, we can add the phosphorus in the alluvial soil. So you have to remember that alluvial soil is suitable for the cultivation of rice, wheat, sugarcane, pulses and oil seeds. Now we are going to discuss about the features of the black soil. Black soil is also known as regur soil or the cotton soil. The word regur has derived from the Telugu word reguda. You can see black soil spreads over 5.46 lakh square kilometer. Black soil is highly moisture retentive soil. That means during rainy season, it is extremely compact, swell greatly and becomes sticky. But in the dry season, the moisture evaporates, the soil shrinks and develops white crack. Often it can be 10 to 15 centimeter deep. And you can see the color of the black soil varies from deep black to light black. Now we are going to discuss about the formation of black soil. Black soil is formed due to the solidification of lava during volcanic activity. And black soil is a very old soil. That's why you can see the proper developed soil profile in black soil. Or you can tell black soil is a mature soil. Now we are going to discuss about the distribution of black soil. Black soil covers the area of greater parts of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Western Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand up to Rajmahal Hills. Now we are going to discuss advantages and disadvantages of black soil. Black soil is black in color due to the presence of iron and aluminium, but it is deficient in nitrogen, phosphorus and organic matter. But it is again rich in lime, calcium, potash. So, black soil is a highly productive soil. It is well suited for the cultivation of cotton, pulses, millets, linseed, jowar, sugarcane, vegetables and citrus fruits. If you go to the Nasik region of Maharashtra, you can see the cultivation of those crops. Next, we are going to discuss about the red soil. First, you can see red soil usually red in color but often varies from chocolate to brown color. Why is it red in color? Because of the presence of ferric oxides. Generally, the top layer is red, but the next layer is yellow in color. If you go to the uplands or in the plateau region, you can see that red soil is thin, poor, gravelly, sandy or stony and is little porous in nature. And the color of the red soil in the uplands is light. But again, if you come to the lower plains, it is rich, dark and fertile loams. It occupies a vast area of 3.5 lakh square kilometer. Now we are going to discuss about the formation of red soil. Red soil is formed due to the weathering of crystalline and metamorphic rocks. For an example, we can take granite, gneiss, quartzite. Those rocks are very old rocks. Now we are going to see the distribution of red soil. In this picture, you can see eastern and the southern portion of the Deccan Plateau. But you have to remember, yellow and red soils are also found in Orissa, Chhattisgarh, southern part of Middle Ganga Plain and along the highlands of Western Ghat, but you can see the presence of red soil even in the northeastern states. Now, what is the advantage of red soil? It is rich in potash. But what is the disadvantage of red soil? It is deficient in nitrogen, phosphorus, and organic material. But we have to remember red soil is not suitable for the cultivation, but in places where irrigation water is available, they are suitable for the cultivation of wheat, cotton, pulses, tobacco, millets, oilseeds, potato, and orchards. Now we are going to discuss about the laterite soil. Many people are getting confused about laterite soil and red soil because both are red in color. But there is a small difference between laterite soil and red soil because red soil is found in the areas of low amount of rainfall, but laterite soil is found where the amount of rainfall is high. Here I have taken the picture of Mahabaleshwar. Here you can see this is the source of Krishna river. During rainy season, because of the mixing of laterite soil, the color of the water has also become red. Now we are going to see the features of laterite soil. The word laterite has derived from the word later, that means brick. Why laterite soil is red in color? Because of the presence of iron oxides. It develops in the highland areas of the plateau. It is typical soils of the monsoonal climate. That means it is directed by the seasonal rainfall. We need alternate wet and dry season for the formation of laterite soil. When laterite soil is wet, it is soft as butter, but it is quite hard when it is dry. It is highly acidic in nature. That means the pH value is less than 7. Now we are going to discuss the formation of laterite soil. For the formation of laterite soil, I have already said we need wet and dry season and we need the process of leaching. Now, what is the process of leaching? For the process of leaching, we need hot and humid climate and heavy rainfall which should be more than 200 centimeter. Here I want to add one thing. Even in cold and humid climate, we can see the presence of leaching, but in that case there should be the formation of podzol soil. But in hot and humid climate, we will see the presence of laterite soil. So what happens during the process of leaching? During monsoon season, due to the high rainfall, silica moves downward, but iron and aluminium remain at the surface layer. Because of that, it leads to the formation of acidic and red color soil. Now we'll see the distribution of laterite soil. We can see laterite soil covers the India in a scattered way, and it also covers 2.48 lakhs per kilometer, which is relatively less from the other soil. Laterite soil occupies hills of Western Ghat, Orissa, West Bengal and northeastern regions. What are the advantages and disadvantages of laterite soil? Laterite soil is rich in iron and aluminium. That's why it's a hard soil which can be used as a building material. And laterite soil is poor in nitrogen, phosphorus, potash, urea. That's why it is not at all suitable for agriculture. Now we are going to see the crops in laterite soil. I have said earlier only, laterite soil is not suitable for agriculture. It is a very low fertile soil. Because of the uses of manure, we can do little bit of cultivation of rice, sugarcane and cashew nuts. That's all about laterite soil. Now we are going to discuss about the features of the desert soil. Here you can see the texture of the desert soil is sandy and it is saline in nature because of the presence of high amount of salt, and the lower regions are occupied by the conker because of the increasing amount of calcium carbonate content. Now we are going to discuss about the formation of desert soil. It is formed due to dust and sand carried by the wind. When wind slow down, it drops those dust and sand and those materials settle at a particular place. This process helps the growth of desert soil. If you see the location of desert region, they are generally found in the arid and semi-arid areas of Rajasthan, some districts of Punjab and western parts of Aravalli range. Now we are going to discuss about the advantages and disadvantages of the desert soil. Due to high amount of salt content, we can easily obtain salt from the desert soil. But in another case, the conker layer formation, especially in the lower regions, restrict the infiltration of water. And the soil is not suitable for agriculture. But here you have to remember one thing, after proper irrigation, the soil has become cultivable. We can give the example of Western Rajasthan. Because of the Indira Gandhi Canal, the soil has become cultivable. Now we are going to see one video on Indira Gandhi Canal.
Indira Gandhi Canal is the largest canal in India. The canal is 650 km long and starts from the Harike Barrage, a few kilometers below the confluence of the Satluj and Beas rivers in Punjab. Indira Gandhi Canal provides irrigation water to an arid area in Rajasthan, starting Ganganagar district to Jaisalmer along the Indo-Pakistan border. It has converted the Thar Desert to an agriculturally happening area.
So here you can see the advantages of Indira Gandhi Canal. Now we are going to discuss the features of the mountain soil. Here you can see in the upper slope the texture of the mountain soil is coarse, but in the valley side or in the lowland it is loamy and silty. But by nature the mountain soil is acidic. Now we are going to discuss the formation of the mountain soil. Mountain soil is formed by the denudation process. Now what is denudation process? Denudation is wearing away of the earth's surface by external agent like moving water, ice, wind or waves. Mountain soil occurs at high elevation as well as low elevation. But you have to remember the amount of rainfall should be sufficient to support the trees, because trees hold the soil and it is also suitable for the formation of the soil. Otherwise, the region will come under the landslide prone zone. Next, we are going to observe the location of the mountain soil or the forest soil. In this map, you can see they are generally found in the Himalayan region like Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, few parts of West Bengal and in the northeastern states. Now we are going to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of mountain soil. The high elevation of the mountain soil is covered by the snow. That's why the soil profile is not mature enough and it is not suitable for any kind of cultivation. But the lower parts, especially the river terraces and the alluvium fans are fertile. Especially it is suitable for tea, coffee, various kinds of spices and supplying of forest product such as timber and fuel. Generally, the humus content is high in forest soil, but in few areas the amount of humus is low. But you have to remember, forest soil is always low in potash, phosphorus and lime. Now I am going to discuss about the saline soil. They are also known as Usara soil. You already know the meaning of Usara is unproductive. Saline soils contain a large proportion of sodium, potassium and magnesium. Thus they are infertile and do not support any vegetative growth. They have more salts largely because of dry climate and poor drainage. They occur in arid and semi-arid regions and in the waterlogged and swampy areas. Their structure ranges from sandy to loamy. They lack in nitrogen and calcium. Saline soils are more widespread in the western Gujarat, deltas of eastern coastal plain and in the Sundarban areas of West Bengal. In the Rann of Kutch, the southwest monsoon brings salt particles and deposits there as a crust. Seawater intrusion in the deltas promote the occurrence of saline soils. In the areas of intensive cultivation with excessive use of irrigation, especially in the areas of green revolution, the fertile alluvial soils are also becoming saline. Now we are going to observe the diagram very carefully. Here you can see during the time of irrigation we provide water. After that, water and salt goes to the soil and water evaporates. Plants also transpire water. As a result, salt remains behind in the soil, which is called salinization. In other case, capillary action also promotes salinization. In dry region, water mixed with salt goes up as a result of capillary action, and water evaporates after that. Plants also transfer water. As a result, salt remains behind in the soil, which is also called salinization. In such areas, especially in Punjab and Haryana, farmers are advised to add gypsum to solve the problem of salinity in the soil. At last, I am going to discuss about the peaty soils. They are found in the areas of heavy rainfall and the humid conditions should be high. And most important, there should be the proper growth of vegetation. That's why in this soil you can see large amount of organic matters. Or you can say the soil is rich in humus. It can be rich up to 40 to 50%. Soils are normally heavy and black in color, but by nature they are alkaline in few places. It occurs in the northern parts of Bihar and Uttaranchal, and you can see the coastal areas of West Bengal, Orissa and Tamil Nadu. That's all about soils in India.
I hope this video is informative for you. So, stay happy, stay safe. I'm going to meet you very soon. Bye.